I never thought a single sound could change my life. But it did. It was just after midnight when I heard the crash, sharp, sudden, and so out of place that my heart stumbled inside my chest. For a moment, I froze, unsure if it was real or if my mind was playing tricks on me again, the way it sometimes does when memories become too heavy. But then I heard it again, a soft thud followed by a whisper. My name. I felt something cold rush through me. Not fear, not yet. Something worse. A familiar ache I thought I had buried years ago. Because the voice I heard was one I hadn't listened to in almost 2 decades. My sister. The same sister whose funeral I had attended with trembling hands and swollen eyes. The same sister I still spoke to in prayers, hoping she could hear me from wherever she rested. And now her voice was inside my house. I stood in the dark hallway, my breath shallow, my fingers trembling against the wall. Everything in me wanted to run, to hide, to scream, but I couldn't move, because if that voice was real, then nothing in my life was what I believed. People often say grief fades with time. I used to believe that too, or at least I tried to. But grief doesn't fade. It settles. It rearranges your heart, your habits, your beliefs, and calls it a new normal. You learn to breathe around it, sleep beside it, walk with it like an unwanted shadow. My sister, Amina, was the kind of person who carried sunlight inside her. Even on days when clouds hung heavy over our small neighborhood, she found a way to make everything feel lighter. She laughed too loudly, loved too easily, and forgave faster than I ever could. I was the older one, the responsible one, the one who always tried to keep her from making choices that would lead to heartbreak. But that's the cruel thing about life. You can protect someone your whole life, only to realize you could never save them from themselves. Amina died 17 years ago. 17 years, and yet some days it feels like she left yesterday. People thought I cried because I lost my sister. But the truth is, I cried because of what we lost before she died. Our last words weren't kind. Our last moment together wasn't soft. And our last phone call, the one I replay in my mind whenever the nights get too long, was filled with anger, frustration, and a truth I wasn't ready to hear. I didn't lose her at her funeral. I lost her the night she walked out of my house with tears streaking her face, saying she wished, just once, I could trust her choices. I never got to tell her she was right. I never got to tell her I was afraid for her, not angry with her. And somehow, the world decided that would be the last memory I was allowed to keep. After she passed, I built a life made of routine. Wake up, make tea, go to work, speak to no one more than necessary. Pretend the world is fine. Pretend I am fine. Some people heal by opening up. I healed by shutting down. The house I live in now is the house Amina and I grew up in. I renovated it, painted the walls, replaced the furniture, changed everything I could, yet somehow it still holds her laughter in its corners, her footsteps in the hallway, and her scent in the linen closet where she used to hide chocolates she didn't want anyone to find. I moved back after our mother passed. Being here felt like a responsibility, a promise, a quiet duty I owed to both of them. But sometimes I wonder if this house remembers us better than we remember ourselves. When I first heard her voice last night, part of me thought it was my mind betraying me. Grief makes you imagine things. Loneliness makes you hear things. But the moment I saw that photo frame turn face down, the one no one touches but me, everything inside me tightened. Because that picture, it's the only photo where Amina and I are holding each other and actually smiling. It was taken the day before our argument. The day before everything changed. I always kept it upright because it reminded me that once, for a brief moment, everything was okay between us. Seeing it flipped over felt intentional, almost like a message. Wally didn't sleep after that. I sat on the sofa with the lights off, staring at the shadows on the L. Memories drifted in and out of me. Soft ones, sharp ones, ones I had tried to bury, but never managed to forget. There was a time when we were inseparable, when she would sneak into my bed during thunderstorms, saying she couldn't sleep without hearing my heartbeat. When we shared the same dreams, the same hopes, the same secret plans about leaving this town and starting a new life somewhere far away. But then life changed us. Or maybe we changed ourselves. She became wilder with age, braver, more reckless, the kind of woman who believed love could fix everything. I became the opposite. I trusted numbers, logic, facts. I feared anything not rooted in certainty. She chased love like it was the air she breathed. I ran from it like it was a fire that would burn me alive. And that difference, that deep, painful difference, created a distance neither of us ever figured out how to cross. There were days when she would walk into my house with her eyes swollen from crying, and I would pretend I didn't notice. I thought I was being strong for her, but now I wonder if she mistook my silence for indifference. And there were nights when she would knock on my door long after midnight, whispering, "Appa, please talk to me," and I would tell her I was tired, when really, I was terrified of hearing the truth she carried inside her. She trusted people too easily, especially one person, the man she loved, the man I warned her about, the man she refused to stop seeing, even when he broke her heart over and over again. The night we argued, I told her she was throwing her life away. She told me I didn't understand her. I told her I didn't want to. She told me she loved him. I told her love wasn't enough. She left crying. And the next day, she was gone forever. I never forgave myself. Not for the argument. Not for my pride. Not for my silence. So when I heard her voice last night, soft, trembling, familiar in a way that made my whole body ache, something inside me cracked open. Was it grief? Guilt? Memory? Or was it something else? People will think I'm imagining it, that loneliness is playing tricks on me. Maybe they're right. Maybe after years of burying her, I'm finally hearing the parts of her I never listened to when she was alive. But the moment I touched that photo frame, the air shifted. Not colder, not warmer, just different, heavier, full of something I can't explain. 17 years is a long time to carry a secret, a long time to carry guilt, a long time to avoid the truth. And for the first time since her death, I had the frightening feeling that Amina, or something connected to her, wasn't done with me yet. Maybe she wanted to tell me something. Maybe she needed something. Or maybe I was finally ready to hear her. I barely noticed the sun rising the next morning. The sky was washed in that faint, early blue softness that belongs to hours when the world hasn't yet decided what it wants to be, day or night, hope or sorrow. My eyes were burning from lack of sleep, but sleep was impossible after what I heard and what I saw. Amina's voice, the photo frame, the silence that felt too aware. I moved through the morning like a ghost in my own home, touching things that didn't need touching, the edge of the table, the back of the chair, the cold metal of the sink, as if grounding myself to something real would erase everything else. But nothing erased it. Nothing softened the echo of that whisper. My name, from her voice. After 17 years. You don't forget the sound of the person you loved most, especially when guilt has carved their memory into your bones. And you certainly don't imagine their voice so clearly that it feels like breath on your skin. I stood at the kitchen window staring at the small garden outside. Amina used to plant jasmine there every spring, kneeling in the mud with her hair tied up in the messiest bun, humming whatever tune was stuck in her head that week. I would watch her from the doorway, pretending I wasn't amused, pretending it wasn't contagious, the gentle joy she sprinkled on everything she touched. That spot now was empty. No flowers, just cold soil. I wondered, for the first time in years, whether she would have hated me for letting it die. The kettle clicked. It startled me even though I had been waiting for it. Everything startled me that morning. I poured the tea, but didn't drink it. The steam fogged my glasses and blurred the world, and for a second I let it, because it was easier than seeing clearly. Seeing clearly meant confronting the truth. And I wasn't ready. Not yet. Around 9 a.m., I decided I needed fresh air. The house felt crowded, but not with things, with memory, with echoes, with possibilities I wasn't prepared to believe. So I put on my oldest clothes, tied my hair back, and stepped outside as if distance could untangle the knot in my chest. The street was waking up slowly. A bicycle bell rang in the distance. Someone watered their plants. A neighbor waved at me, and I forced a smile. Normal. Everything was painfully normal, which made the night before feel even more unreal. I walked aimlessly, letting my feet decide where they wanted to go. They carried me down roads I knew by heart. The alley where we used to chase each other as children, the old corner store where Amina once bought a peach with her last 20 rupees just to give it to me because, she said, I looked sad. Even then, she could read me better than anyone. The world looked the same, but I didn't feel the same. And then, I found myself standing in front of her old apartment building. I hadn't planned to come here. I hadn't even thought of it. But my feet, or something else, brought me here. The building hadn't aged gracefully. The paint was chipped. The windows were dull. The stair railing was still broken in the same spot. Everything felt frozen in time, heavy with the kind of silence that holds stories instead of breath. I hesitated before going inside. Something in me whispered not to. Something else whispered I had to. The hallway smelled like damp concrete and old secrets. My footsteps echoed too loudly, like the building remembered me and wasn't happy about it. I stood outside her door, number 2B, my hand hovering just inches from the wood. When she died, they sealed the apartment for investigation. Later, they cleared it, emptied it, and locked it. But I'd never gone back. Not once in 17 years. Not to collect her things. Not to ask what happened. Not to face what I wasn't ready to face. I exhaled slowly. Then I touched the doorknob. It was cold. Colder than it should have been. A shiver slid down my arms, but I told myself it was nerves, nothing more. I reached into my pocket, pulled out the small ring of old keys I brought almost unconsciously, and held the one I hadn't touched in years. Amina's apartment key. My fingers shook as I pressed it into the lock. It clicked open. The sound was sharper than I expected, almost metallic, almost deliberate. I pushed the door open. And for a moment, just a moment, I forgot how to breathe. The apartment should have been empty. But it wasn't. A thin layer of dust coated most of the surfaces, yes, but something felt wrong. Very wrong. Items were out of place. Not dramatically. Not violently. But subtly, like someone had been here recently, someone who knew what belonged where. The curtain was half drawn, a habit Amina had because she liked sunlight but hated glare. A mug sat on the counter, not dusty, but faintly stained as if someone used it days ago. A thin shawl lay draped over the sofa. Her shawl, the one with the embroidered hem our mother had done by hand. My stomach tightened. No. This wasn't possible. The apartment had been sealed. Later emptied. Later locked. So who? I stepped inside, each movement painfully slow. Amina? The word slipped out before I could stop it. The silence that followed was thick. But silence wasn't the only thing in that room. There was something else, a presence, a heaviness, a familiarity. And then I saw it. On the dining table. A single sheet of paper. Folded once. Placed carefully. Intentionally. And on the outside, written in her handwriting, unmistakable, looping, soft, gentle letters. Appa. My knees nearly buckled. I stared at the note as the room spun. The air thinned. My skin prickled. This couldn't be real. Handwriting doesn't appear after 17 years. Notes don't fold themselves. Names of the dead don't land gently on tables. My heart hammered so hard it felt like it might crack my ribs. But my hands moved on their own. I reached for the note. My fingers brushed the paper.
Warm.
Not dusty. Not old.
Warm.
I unfolded it with trembling hands. Inside were 5 words. 5 words that shattered everything I thought I knew. You were right about him. My breath caught. My vision blurred. Because those were the last words I wanted to hear from her. The truth I begged her to see. The warnings she ignored. Him. The man she died loving. The man she fought me for. The man I hated more than I admitted. But the rest of the page was blank. As if she had more to say but couldn't. I gripped the edge of the table to steady myself. Was this a cruel joke? A coincidence? A hallucination? A message? And then, before I could think further, the floor beneath me vibrated softly. A closet door across the room rattled. And something inside it, something small, something sharp, fell. I froze. Every part of me screamed to run. But grief, guilt, and a strange, magnetic curiosity held me in place. I walked toward the closet slowly. Each step felt like it carried years of buried memory.
My hand reached the doorknob.
I hesitated. Then I opened it. Inside, everything was as it had been the day she left it. Her coat, her old handbag, her notebooks. Except one thing. On the closet floor lay a phone. Amina's phone. The same phone the police never found. My lungs constricted. I reached for it. Dust covered.
Cracked.
But unmistakably hers. I pressed the power button. For a moment nothing happened. Then, a faint vibration. A flicker. A screen lighting up with impossibly weak life. The phone wasn't dead. Someone had charged it. Recently. My hands trembled as it powered on. And then, a notification appeared. An unread voicemail. Dated 2 days ago. I felt every hair on my body rise. This wasn't possible. Couldn't be possible. But the voicemail was there.
Real.
Waiting. I tapped it with a shaking finger. There was static. A long pause. A faint breath. And then, a voice. Her voice.
Weak. Scared.
Desperate. Appa, please, he's not who you think. He's worse. I was wrong. Please don't let him. The message cut off abruptly. A choked sound escaped me. Half sob. Half disbelief. I replayed it again. And again. Her voice. Her warning. Her fear. Alive in a message from 2 days ago. My vision blurred as tears filled my eyes. My hand pressed against my chest, as if holding myself together was the only thing keeping me from falling apart. This wasn't just memory. This wasn't grief. This wasn't imagination. Something had happened. Something was happening. And then something clicked in my mind, a memory I had buried deeply. The police report. The inconsistencies. The unanswered questions. The case closed too quickly. The man she loved disappearing afterward. Pieces that never made sense. Pieces I never dared examine. Until now. I sank onto the sofa, the phone still in my hand, the note trembling in the other. Her voice echoed in my ears. Don't let him. Him. The man who walked away untouched. The man who slipped through the cracks. The man who took my sister's life little by little long before she died.
He was back.
In some way, in some form. And Amina, whether memory, spirit, or something I couldn't yet name, was trying to reach me, to warn me, to finish her last sentence. The sunlight through the window shifted slightly, landing across the note on my lap. The 5 words stared up at me like a verdict. You were right about him. My throat tightened, because suddenly, one thing became terrifyingly clear. If Amina was right, if she was trying to tell me something, then the past wasn't finished. And neither was he. Something dangerous had resurfaced. Something she didn't get to finish. And now, it was coming for me. The walk back home felt heavier than the walk there. Amina's phone pressed against my palm like a heartbeat that didn't belong to me. Every step echoed with the voicemail. Her voice, trembling, unfinished, haunting. Don't let him. The message cut off in my mind the same way it had cut off on the recording, like a warning stabbed mid-sentence. By the time I reached my gate, my breath was uneven. The morning sun had brightened the street, but it felt wrong. Too warm, too normal for the storm rising inside me. I closed the door behind me and leaned against it, letting the silence devour me. For a long time, I just stood there, eyes closed, breathing slowly, afraid to move, afraid to think. But then I heard it. A soft, rhythmic tapping. I opened my eyes. Someone was knocking, not on my front door, but at the back gate. 3 soft taps. A pause. 3 soft taps again. My pulse skipped. Nobody used the back gate. Not neighbors. Not delivery people. Nobody. I set Amina's phone on the coffee table and walked toward the kitchen cautiously, the floorboards creaking under me. I peeked through the small window above the sink. A man stood there.
Tall.
Quiet.
Still.
His back was turned toward me, hands in his pockets, his posture composed but tense. His hair was slightly unkempt, dark with hints of gray at the temples. He stood like someone who hadn't slept, who carried things on his shoulders that he didn't know how to put down. I didn't recognize him, and yet something about him felt familiar. Not his face, I couldn't see it, but his presence.
His stillness.
Like someone who had been waiting a long time to stand at that gate. I hesitated. Then he knocked again. 3 taps.
Pause.
3 taps. Before I could decide what to do, he spoke, not loudly, but clearly enough that his voice carried through the small cracks around the frame. Appa, please. My breath caught.
Appa.
That word. Only one person called me that besides Amina. Only one person said it with that softness, that hesitant reverence. Mahad, Amina's son. My nephew. He would be 23 now. But I hadn't seen him in years. Not since the funeral. Not since his father disappeared. Not since he moved away with an aunt from the other side of the family. People who never liked me, who blamed me quietly in their glances for things they couldn't explain. I opened the gate. He turned toward me slowly. And when our eyes met, the years between us collapsed. There he was, older, taller, sharper around the edges, but still carrying the same eyes Amina gave him. The same fear she carried in her last year. The same loneliness she tried to hide. My throat tightened. Mahad, I whispered. His expression faltered for just a moment, a flash of relief, pain, something unspoken, before he lowered his gaze. Can I come in? He asked quietly. I stepped aside. He walked past me into the kitchen, but the way he carried himself, it was like each step was chosen carefully, like he wasn't sure if he belonged here. Neither was I. I closed the door and faced him. What are you doing here? I asked, my voice softer than I intended. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, his eyes drifted around the room. The walls, the counter, the chair Amina used to sit in whenever she visited. Finally, he spoke. I heard something, he said. Something I wasn't supposed to hear. My heartbeat stumbled. What did you hear? He looked at me, then really looked, and I saw something deeply broken in his eyes. Mom's voice, he said. My breath left me. He swallowed hard. 2 nights ago. I stared at him, my skin tingling, my heart pounding so loudly I could hear it in my ears. He heard it too. He heard her. Where? I whispered. He hesitated, his jaw tightening as if the memory hurt. In my room, he said. I was half asleep. And then I heard her say my name. I thought I was dreaming, but he rubbed his arms as if trying to warm himself. It felt too real. The air felt suddenly too thin. And that's not all, he continued. I heard something else last night. A knock. 3 taps. Same pattern I always used when I came home late, so she wouldn't get scared. He looked up at me then. And when I opened the door, there was a letter on the floor. Cold crept into my fingertips. Mahad reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded sheet of paper. He handed it to me. My hands trembled as I opened it. A single line, in that same soft handwriting, curved like breath caught midair. Protect your aunt. My knees weakened. Mahad stepped forward as if to steady me, then stopped himself, unsure if the distance between us allowed such a gesture. I forced myself to stand straight. You believe this came from her? I asked quietly. He inhaled slowly. I don't know what to believe, he admitted. But when I got that letter, I knew I had to come to you. A strange, bittersweet warmth spread through me despite the fear. After all these years, after silence, distance, and grief, he still came. I gestured toward the kitchen table. Sit, I said. He did. I sat across from him, the weight of everything between us settling into the air like dust. I reached for Amina's phone on the table. I found this today, I told him. His eyes widened. That's... I know. I unlocked the screen and played the voicemail. Mahad froze. Every word hit him like a blow. When it ended, he didn't speak for a long time. His eyes were wet, but he didn't wipe them. He just stared at the phone, jaw tight, hands clenched. Finally, he whispered. She sounded scared. I nodded. She was. He leaned back, breathing unevenly. Why now? He murmured. After all these years, why now? I didn't have an answer, but the question haunted me. Amina had been gone for 17 years. Why would her voice return? Why would her phone reappear? Why would her handwriting surface? Why would she warn us? Why would she speak now? Unless... She didn't finish her story, I said quietly. Mahad looked at me sharply. What do you mean? I turned the note in my hand. You were right about him. Mahad's jaw clenched. My father. The room felt heavier at the mention of him, that man whose silhouette lived in the darkest corner of my memory. Yes, I whispered. Mahad's voice lowered. You think he's back? I don't know, I said honestly. But something is happening, and whatever it is, it's tied to him. Silence settled between us again. Not empty, loaded. Mahad inhaled shakily. Auntie, he said slowly, I need to tell you something. I looked at him, waiting. He hesitated as if choosing his words carefully. Before I came here, I went to the police station. My pulse quickened. I wanted to request Mom's case file again. What did they say? I asked. They said it was missing. I blinked. Missing? He nodded. Not misplaced. Not archived. Missing. Completely gone. A chill ran through me. Mahad continued, his voice tightening. And that's not all. The officer who gave me the information pulled me aside and told me quietly that someone else had asked for Mom's file 2 days ago. Who? He didn't say, Mahad whispered. Only that the person wasn't family. My heart hammered. 2 days ago. The same day the voicemail was recorded. The same day someone left the letter for Mahad. The same day someone charged Amina's phone. The same day everything changed. I pressed a hand to my forehead, trying to make sense of the pieces. This isn't coincidence, Mahad said. Someone is doing something. Someone is looking into Mom's case. Someone who knows things. I met his eyes. Or, I said, my voice barely audible. Someone who doesn't want us to find out. He swallowed hard. I need your help, Appa, he said softly. The words hit me like a warm, painful truth. For 17 years, I carried guilt like a wound that never healed.
But now,
for the first time since losing Amina, her son was looking at me not with blame, but with trust. Unexpected help. A new ally. A connection to the woman we both loved and lost, and never stopped grieving. I reached across the table. My hand hovered for a moment, old habits of distance hard to break, and then I placed it gently over his. He looked at our hands, then at me, his eyes softening in a way that felt like Amina herself had breathed between us. We'll find the truth, I whispered, no matter what it takes. He nodded, a quiet, steady nod. What now? He asked. I exhaled slowly. We start where everything ended, I said. Where the truth was buried. Where your mother's story stopped. He frowned slightly. And where is that? I looked toward the door. Toward the world outside. Toward the place I had avoided for 17 years. The night she died, I said softly, she wasn't alone. Mahad's eyes widened. You mean? Yes, I whispered. We're going to find him. The man she warned me about. The man who vanished. The man whose name lived like poison in both our memories. Her boyfriend. Her darkness. Her last mistake. Her last truth. Mahad inhaled deeply. So we're doing this together? He asked. I squeezed his hand gently. I'm not letting you face this alone, I said. He looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Auntie, thank you. For the first time in 17 years, something warm flickered inside me. Small, fragile, but real. Hope. Connection. Unexpected help. A new beginning built from old wounds. We sat in silence for a moment, our breaths sinking, the house holding us in a rare softness. Then Mahad's expression shifted, cautious, alert, startled. Auntie, he whispered, don't move. I froze. He pointed behind me, toward the hallway. There's someone in the house. I stared at the diary in my hands, its leather cover cracked and worn along the edges, as if it had been opened thousands of times. But it hadn't. At least, not by me. I never even knew Amina kept a diary. Sarah had found it tucked behind the baseboard in the same hallway where I heard her voice. The very idea that it had been hiding there for 17 years made something inside my chest shift uncomfortably, a tightness, a warning, a tremor of something I wasn't ready to name. Sarah sat across from me on the old sofa, her legs tucked underneath her, eyes shining with the kind of curiosity only a young woman untouched by regret could possess. I envied that innocence in her. I envied the way she could sit here, so calm, while my entire world tilted beneath me. Do you want to open it? She asked softly. I didn't answer immediately. My fingers ran over the cover again and again, tracing the delicate, embossed pattern Amina used to doodle on every notebook she owned. Little stars, little spirals, little dreams she could never keep inside her mind. She lived through her notebooks. She lived too loudly, too freely, too beautifully. Maybe that's why life stole her so soon. I swallowed hard. I didn't know she had this. Sarah nodded like she understood, though she couldn't possibly. Sometimes people hide the most important parts of themselves, she whispered, especially from the people they love the most. Her words hit deeper than she knew. With a slow breath, I opened the diary. The first page was blank, the second too. But on the third page,
I saw it.
Amina's handwriting.
Loose. Bold. Messy.
Exactly like her. Appa doesn't understand. My heart dropped. I kept reading. She thinks I'm being foolish. But she doesn't know him, not the way I do. She sees danger in everything. Maybe she's right. But I can't stop my heart. I wish she knew that. I wish she would try. I exhaled shakily and turned the page. He told me today that some people are trying to scare him. He didn't explain much. He just said he needed me to trust him. I do. I always will, even if it kills me. Even if it kills me. The sentence felt like someone had punched me directly in the chest. Sarah leaned forward. What does it say? I shook my head. Nothing. Just memories. But it wasn't nothing. It was everything. I kept turning pages. Some were harmless, little sketches, little stories, daily rants about coworkers or dreams she had. But as I neared the center of the diary, her tone shifted. The writing became hurried, slanted, fearful. Someone followed me again today. My throat tightened. He said it's nothing. But I know when he's lying. I can see it in his eyes now.
He's scared of something.
And whatever it is, it's getting closer.
Someone
followed her? 17 years ago, I was too wrapped in my own anger to notice anything unusual. I thought she was being dramatic, emotional, irrational. But now, reading her words, I felt sick. Are you okay? Sarah asked gently. No, I whispered. But I will be. I turned the page again. This entry was different. Shorter. More panicked. If something happens to me, I hope Appa forgives me. I hope she understands I didn't choose this. I just loved the wrong person too much. My hands trembled so badly, the diary nearly slipped from my fingers. Sarah's eyes widened. Loved the wrong person? I didn't answer. Not because I didn't know, but because I did. I knew exactly who she meant, and I had hated him for years. A knock at the door. Before I could turn the next page, a loud knock echoed through the house. It wasn't the kind of knock that belonged to a neighbor or a delivery boy.
It was slow.
Deliberate. Heavy. Sarah tensed. That sounded wrong. I nodded. Everything inside me went still. We walked together toward the door. I hesitated for a moment before pulling it open. Standing outside was a man I hadn't seen in 17 years. My breath caught in my throat. He looked older. Of course he did. Older, thinner, paler, like life had been scraping pieces off him over the years. But his eyes, those stayed the same.
Dark.
Unsettling. Too familiar. Salman. I nearly choked on the name. He offered a weak smile. It's been a long time. I opened my mouth to respond, but nothing came out. Anger.
Fear. Disgust.
Confusion. They all tangled inside me until I felt physically dizzy. Sarah glanced at me, waiting for direction, but I couldn't speak. This man was the reason Amina and I had fought. This man was the one she defended, the one she cried over, the one she loved too deeply, and the one I blamed for her death. What are you doing here? I finally whispered. He exhaled shakily. I heard you've been asking questions. My heart slammed hard in my chest. I haven't asked anyone anything, I replied stiffly. But maybe I should. His eyes flicked past me into the house. Can I come in? No. He nodded slowly, as if he expected that. I don't want trouble, he said. I just I think you deserve to know what really happened. The words hit the air like a thunderclap. Sarah's eyes widened. What really happened? He hesitated, then looked down at his hands. I didn't kill her, he whispered. Something inside me snapped. I never said you did. You thought it, he murmured. For 17 years. I thought a lot of things, I said coldly. You gave me reasons. He flinched. A long moment passed between us. Quiet, tense, filled with ghosts neither of us knew how to confront. Finally, I stepped aside just enough for him to enter. Not because I wanted him inside my home, but because I needed the truth more than I needed my pride. Inside the house, he walked in slowly, like he was stepping into a memory he wasn't ready to face. His eyes scanned the walls, the photographs, the small things Amina and I collected over the years. He paused at her picture. She loved this one, he whispered. Don't, I said sharply. Don't say her name like you miss her. He swallowed hard. I never stopped. Anger swelled inside me before I could stop it. Sarah placed a gentle hand on my arm. Maybe we should hear him out. I took a long breath, then nodded. We sat in the living room, Sarah beside me, Salman across from us, the diary resting between us on the table like evidence. His eyes landed on it. So you found it, he said quietly. The world froze. You knew about this? I asked. He looked away. She told me she hid something, but she didn't tell me what. Why were people following her? I demanded. Why was she scared? What did you drag her into? He opened his mouth to speak, then closed it. His jaw clenched. His hands trembled. And when he looked up, something in his eyes shifted. Something raw, something dark, something like guilt. She wasn't supposed to get involved, he said. She didn't know the whole story. What story? I pressed. Sarah leaned forward. Mr. Salman, please. Just tell us. He exhaled, long and heavy, like he'd been carrying the weight of this secret for 17 years. It started months before she died, he said. I was in trouble. Real trouble. The kind you can't talk about over dinner. The kind you can't ask for help with. The kind you only escape if you're lucky. And Amina, she wasn't supposed to know. My stomach tightened. But she found out, he continued. She overheard a conversation I wasn't meant to have at home. She knew I was tangled in something dangerous. She tried to help me. She wanted to save me. He paused. And someone saw her. The room went silent. Saw her. Watched her. Followed her. My hands went cold. What kind of trouble? I whispered. He hesitated. Sarah leaned closer.
Tell her.
He finally spoke. Amina didn't die by accident, he said. And she didn't die the way you were told. My entire world tilted. Sarah gasped quietly. My voice cracked when I asked, then how did she die? He looked straight into my eyes. She died because of me, he whispered. But not in the way you think. Someone wanted to send me a message. My breath caught, and they used her to send it. The true revelation begins. I felt everything inside me collapse at once. Grief, rage, heartbreak, realization. All spilling into each other until I couldn't tell where one ended and the next began. 17 years. 17 years thinking she died because she was reckless. 17 years blaming her choices. Blaming her heart. Blaming myself. And all this time, there was a truth hiding underneath the floorboards, behind a photo frame, inside an old diary. A truth big enough to destroy everything I thought I knew.
Who?
I whispered. Who did this to her? Salman closed his eyes. And when he opened them, the name he spoke was one I recognized.
Too well.
Someone you know, he said softly. Someone very close to your family. The name Salman had spoken still hung in the air, thick and suffocating, like smoke after a house fire. Someone close to my family, someone I had trusted. But he hadn't said who. Not yet. And maybe that was the cruelest part. Knowing Danger had been sitting at our table all along, drinking our tea, smiling in our photographs. It made my skin crawl. It made the walls of the house feel too tight, too familiar, too soaked in secrets I hadn't known I was living with. Sarah sat rigid beside me, her fingers gripping the edge of the sofa, eyes darting between Salman and me as if expecting the walls to start whispering next. I forced my voice to remain steady. Tell me everything. No pauses. No half-truths. No protecting my feelings. Appa, he whispered. Say it, I insisted. He swallowed hard, his throat bobbing in visible fear, not of me, but of the truth he had been running from for 17 years. You remember, he began slowly. Your cousin Cameron? The world tilted.
Cameron.
A boy who grew into an unstable, unpredictable man. A man who once stole my mother's gold bangles and blamed it on a stray electrician. A man who always loved Amina a little too much and hated any man who got close to her. But this wasn't just jealousy. This was deeper, darker. I clenched my jaw. What about him? Salman exhaled shakily. He was involved with the men who were threatening me. My heart froze.
No. No. No.
That couldn't be real. Cameron? My own blood? Dragging Amina into danger without a flicker of guilt? I wanted to stand up, to scream,
To deny everything.
but I couldn't, because deep down, in some quiet, haunted place inside me, I had always known Cameron carried a part of himself no one could reach. Not even Amina. Not even me. Sarah whispered. Why would he hurt her? Why would he threaten you? Salman rubbed his forehead, his hand shaking. I didn't know he was connected. I had borrowed money, stupidly, blindly, from the wrong people. When I couldn't pay back fast enough, they started watching me, sending messages, trying to make an example out of me. And Amina? I pressed. He looked at me as if the answer itself was a wound. She found out, he whispered. She overheard a call. She demanded the truth. And when I didn't tell her everything, she tried to investigate on her own. My breath hitched. That sounded exactly like her. Too empathic, too brave, too tragic for her own good. She confronted someone, he added. She confronted Cameron. That was when something inside me broke completely. She trusted him, I whispered, voice cracking. She always trusted him. And he used that, Salman said, gently but painfully. He used her trust to pull information about me. When he realized she knew too much, he panicked. He told his people she was a liability. I closed my eyes, tears burning hot and merciless. The room felt too loud, too bright, too full of memories that suddenly had edges sharp enough to cut skin. Sarah wiped at her eyes. Do you have proof? Salman nodded slowly. Not on me, but I know where it is. My gaze snapped toward him. Where? He hesitated. It's not safe, he said. Not for you. Not for her. He nodded toward Sarah. They might still be watching. A shiver crawled up my spine. The house, my safe place, my quiet universe, felt suddenly infiltrated, exposed. Like danger had seeped through the cracks beneath the doors. You think they're still around? Sarah asked, voice trembling. Salman nodded. Men like that don't disappear. They wait. For what? I asked. For old debts, he replied. For loose ends. Loose ends. Amina had been one. Now I was another. And perhaps so was he. The decision to search. I couldn't sit anymore. I rose to my feet, pacing slowly, each step heavy with the weight of my past and my future. The floorboards creaked beneath my feet, as if echoing fragments of Amina's voice, the last time she had walked across this very hallway, tearful and stubborn and unbearably alive. "What do you want from me?" I asked quietly. "I want you to know the truth," Salman replied. "No," my voice sharpened. "Why now? Why after 17 years?" He looked down at his hands, the same hands that had once held my sister, the same hands she believed she could save. "Because the man who ran the operation," he said, the one Cameron answered to, he was released from prison last week. A chill shot down my spine. The room felt suddenly colder. "And if he finds the diary?" I whispered. "He won't," Salman said quickly. "He doesn't know it exists." My eyes fell on the small leather book on the coffee table. Amina's last voice. Her fears. Her warnings. Her truth. She had hidden it because she knew someone would come looking. Sarah pressed her fingers against her lips. "So, what do we do?" The "we" in her question startled me. Sarah was young. She didn't deserve this. She had stepped into my storm without knowing the size of it. Yet when she sat beside me, her voice steady, her hands warm against mine, I felt a strange surge of strength, the kind I hadn't felt in years. "We go where the truth is," I said at last. Salman looked up, hesitant. "Are you sure? Once we go there, there's no turning back." I wiped my cheeks. My voice was quiet but unwavering. "I've lived 17 years in darkness. I'm done turning back." The forgotten warehouse. We drove in 2 cars. Sarah insisted on coming despite my protests. "Someone has to make sure you don't do anything reckless," she said with a half-forced smile. If she only knew how many reckless things I'd done at her age. The night was thick with fog as we headed toward the old industrial area on the outskirts of town, a place no one visited anymore except stray dogs and criminals who preferred to hide in abandoned buildings. Salman led the way, headlights cutting narrow tunnels through the darkness. As I drove, every memory of Amina danced through my mind, her laughter, her tears, the way she held my arm when she was scared, the way she tried to protect me even when she was breaking. I whispered to the empty seat beside me, "I'm here now, Amina. I'm finally listening." When we reached the warehouse, it loomed like a sleeping monster. Rusted metal, shattered windows, graffiti scars, and silence thick enough to swallow sound. Salman motioned for us to follow him. Inside, everything smelled of dust and old secrets. Steel beams towered overhead like skeletons from some forgotten world. Our footsteps echoed too loudly. Sarah gripped my arm. "This place is terrifying." "Truth usually is," I murmured. Salman led us down a narrow corridor to a small room at the back of the building. He pushed open the rusted door. Inside was a metal cabinet, dented, padlocked, and half buried under fallen plaster. "This is where I kept everything," he said quietly, "before it got too dangerous." I swallowed. "What's inside?" "Proof," he whispered. His trembling fingers inserted a small key. The lock clicked open. Inside were stacks of documents, old photos, notes scribbled in frantic handwriting, and a small sealed envelope. Salman handed the envelope to me. My name was written on it. My knees nearly buckled. I stared at him. "She wrote this." He nodded. 2 days before she died. My throat closed. My hands shook. My breath came shallow. Every wall inside my heart cracked. Sarah touched my back gently. "Appa, open it." I did. Inside was a single letter. Amina's handwriting, shaky, rushed, emotional, familiar, looked back at me like a ghost reaching across time. I read the first line. If you're reading this, it means something has happened to me. My lips trembled. I'm scared, Appa. Not for myself, but for you. There are people watching him. There are people watching me. One of them is someone we know.
Someone.
Someone close. I can't tell you everything. Not yet. But please don't trust Cameron. My heart slammed against my ribs. Sarah gasped. Your cousin? Salman stepped closer, his voice barely above a whisper. She found out he was involved. She tried to warn you. I didn't know. I whispered, tears sliding silently down my face. I didn't know. No, I hadn't wanted to know. I had been too proud, too stubborn, too convinced she was being dramatic. My ignorance had cost her everything. I turned the letter over. At the bottom, she had written, "If they hurt me, don't let it end with silence. You deserve the truth. We both do." I pressed the letter against my chest, sobbing quietly, the kind of sob that breaks bone instead of breath. Sarah wrapped her arms around me, grounding me, keeping me from falling apart entirely. After a long moment, Salman spoke again. "There's more," he said gently. "Something you need to hear." I wiped my face. What? He handed me a faded photograph, one I had never seen. Amina in a small cafe, smiling nervously at someone behind the camera. Behind her, blurred but unmistakable,
Cameron.
Standing too close. Watching her. Possessive. Threatening. And beside him, a man I recognized from the news years ago. A man connected to criminal rings and unsolved cases. A man who had recently been released. My breath caught. They knew each other, I whispered. They worked together. Yes, Salman said. And Amina walked straight into the middle of it. I stared at the photo until my vision blurred. Every instinct in my body, anger, grief, fear, rage, collided at once. This wasn't just about Amina anymore. This was about a trap, a betrayal, a family's secret buried under 17 years of silence. And now, they would know we were digging. A sudden realization. As I placed the photo back inside the cabinet, something small slipped from behind it, a second envelope, sealed and much older. Amina's handwriting again. But this time, the name wasn't mine. It was Cameron's. My hands froze. Sarah whispered, "Why would she write to him?" Salman stepped back, eyes wide. I've never seen that before. I held the envelope delicately, afraid it might break under the weight of its own truth. Then, slowly, I turned it over. On the back, she had written one single line. "If you ever come near her again, I won't stay silent." Her last act wasn't fear. It was defiance. A warning. A promise she never got to keep. And in that moment, standing in an abandoned warehouse, holding two letters written by a woman who died fighting for her life, I understood something I had been too blind to see for 17 years. Amina hadn't been reckless. She had been brave. She hadn't been dramatic. She had been hunted. And she hadn't died because she trusted the wrong person. She died because she protected the right one.
Me.
My knees weakened, but instead of collapsing, something fierce rose inside me. Something strong, sharp, unstoppable. I turned to Salman. "We're not done." He nodded. "I know." Sarah stepped forward. "What now?" I tightened my grip on the letters. "Now," I whispered, "we finish what Amina started." The warehouse felt colder now, even with the letters and documents in my hands. The walls, dark and rusted, seemed to lean closer, as if eavesdropping on every heartbeat. I couldn't shake the sense that someone, somewhere, knew we were there. Every shadow looked like a person ready to pounce. I turned to Salman and Sarah. My hands shook, not just from fear, but from the weight of Amina's warnings. Her letters were only the tip of the iceberg. I had known the truth about Cameron was bad, but I hadn't imagined how bad. Salman swallowed hard. "There's more you need to see," he said, producing a second folder, thicker and heavier than the first. Its edges were worn, as though it had been passed between countless hands, hidden in the shadows and forgotten by everyone else. I took a deep breath. "Show me." "The hidden recordings." Salman opened the folder carefully. Inside were several old DVDs, each labeled with dates from nearly 2 decades ago. My heart skipped when I noticed one particular date, the day Amina had disappeared. "Are these recordings?" I whispered. "Yes," Salman said. "Security footage, secret recordings, audio files. Everything we could find connected to Cameron and the operation. I've kept them hidden all these years. But now, they're more important than ever." I pressed my trembling fingers against the top disc. The label was handwritten, shaky. "Do not watch if you value your peace." My stomach twisted. But I knew there was no turning back. The footage. We set up a small laptop in the corner. The first clip played. It was grainy, filmed from a distance, but instantly recognizable. Cameron, older but unmistakable, speaking in whispers to a man whose face I recognized from the photograph Salman had shown me earlier. Raza, the criminal recently released from prison. They were plotting. "Everything is ready," Cameron said, his voice sharp. "She trusts you. She trusts her. If she interferes, we deal with it before it becomes a problem." My stomach dropped. Raza's voice was deeper, colder. "No mistakes this time. Last time, you let her slip." I froze. "Last time?" Salman whispered. "That's what Amina uncovered. Cameron and Raza had tried something before. She had stumbled onto their plan, which is why they targeted her specifically." The next clip made my blood run cold. It was a security camera from outside a cafe. Amina, smiling nervously, was talking to someone I couldn't see clearly. Cameron lurked behind her, scanning the area like a predator. His hand brushed hers, not in affection, but as a warning. She knew she was being followed," I said, my voice breaking. "Yes," Salman said. "And she left you a trail." The diary connection. I remembered Amina's diary. Every cryptic warning, every unfinished sentence, every plea to be careful, it all connected now. Sarah leaned over, her voice shaking. "Do you see? She wasn't reckless. She was trying to leave breadcrumbs for you. She was protecting you and the truth." I clutched the letters again. She was brave. So brave. But bravery didn't erase the horror I felt. Cameron wasn't just a traitor. He was dangerous. Every plan he had made was precise, calculated. Every smile he had given Amina, every time he pretended to care to lie. The big twist revealed. Salman handed me another document. This one looked official. A court file, sealed and stamped. He spoke in a low voice. "I didn't know how to tell you this before, but Cameron isn't just involved in threats. He's the reason Amina disappeared. And there's more." I stiffened. "What more?" Salman looked me dead in the eyes. "He was working for someone higher. Someone connected to your family. Someone you trusted." My head spun. I wanted to deny it, to shut the folder and pretend none of this was real. But the evidence was undeniable. Photographs, letters, recordings, and financial transactions all pointed to one shocking truth. Cameron's orders came directly from your own uncle, your mother's brother. I sat frozen, the letters dropping from my hands. "Uncle?" "Yes," Salman continued. "He's the one who orchestrated everything. He knew Amina had discovered his secrets and used Cameron to silence her." The room tilted around me. I could hear my own heart pounding, the sound deafening in the warehouse silence. Why would he do this? I whispered. Greed, Salman said simply.
Control.
He wanted to take over the family's assets. Amina found out too much. Sterling, he was collateral. She tried to protect you. That's why she left those letters. I could feel my pulse hammering in my temples.
Rage. Grief. Shock.
And something else, a burning need for justice. The threat becomes personal. I realized then that Cameron hadn't just been a distant villain. He had always been close, watching, waiting, knowing. And my family? They had been blind, oblivious, or worse, complicit. Salman handed me another photograph, one from inside a house I recognized immediately. It was our own home. Cameron, grinning, holding what looked like my father's checkbook, while Amina quietly photographed evidence from across the room. She had proof, Salman said, but they took her before she could escape with it. My hands shook violently. I pressed them to my mouth, trying to stop a scream. I should have known, I whispered. All the warning signs, the disappearances, the strange calls, everything. Sarah took my hand. It's not your fault, Appa. She did what she could. Now, we finish what she started. I nodded slowly, tears streaming. We find the evidence Cameron and my uncle wanted destroyed. We expose them all, no matter the cost. The hidden safe. Salman led us to a small steel safe hidden under old floorboards in the warehouse. It had been overlooked for years, but he knew it was Cameron's backup location. Inside were files, photographs, financial statements, and a USB drive labeled for Amina. I held it carefully. It was as though her hand had reached across time to guide me. Everything we need, Salman whispered. This proves her warnings were real. This proves Cameron and your uncle orchestrated everything, from threats to murder. I swallowed hard. The weight of the moment pressed down on me. Every loss, every tear, every sleepless night suddenly had a direction, a purpose. This is our chance, I said, to get justice, to protect those who are still alive, to honor Amina. Sarah hugged me tightly. We do it together. And in that embrace, I felt something I hadn't felt in 17 years. Hope. Foreshadowing the next step. I realized then that the fight wouldn't be easy. Cameron was dangerous, cunning, and connected. My uncle was powerful, influential, and unscrupulous. But Amina had left breadcrumbs. The warehouse, the letters, the recordings, the hidden safe. We had the evidence, and we had each other. But more than that, I had something deeper, a fire that would not be extinguished. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was about truth,
Justice. Family.
and closure for a woman who had been silenced too soon. As I looked at the stacks of documents, photographs, and letters before me, I whispered softly, Amina, I won't fail you. I promise. And with that promise, I knew the next chapter of this story, the confrontation, the exposure, the final battle, was about to begin. The moment we left the warehouse, I felt a weight pressing on my chest, not just the burden of what we had discovered, but the looming shadow of what was to come. Every step outside felt like walking into a storm I could neither control nor predict. The streets of the city were quiet, deceptively calm, but my heart told me danger was already following. Salman and Sarah exchanged a glance I didn't need to interpret. The threat wasn't abstract anymore. It was real. Cameron and my uncle knew something had shifted. They would strike, and soon. The tension escalates. I couldn't go home. Not yet. Every familiar street corner, every alley, every shadow could conceal someone watching, waiting, ready to destroy the evidence, or me. Jordan's warnings echoed in my mind. Trust no one until the proof is safe. We decided to split temporarily. Sarah would stay with me, ensuring Zion remained unaware of the escalating danger, while Salman would retrieve additional evidence from secure locations. The plan was simple but precarious: gather more proof, tighten the trap, and make Cameron and my uncle vulnerable. Yet, with every passing hour, my anxiety grew. My hands shook as I held Zion close, explaining only partially why we couldn't return to our normal life. His innocence became a sword and a shield simultaneously. He was the reason I had to be brave, but his vulnerability also heightened every fear. A threat emerges. Late that night, as I double-checked our safe house, a shadow fell across the window. My breath hitched. The faint crunch of gravel under heavy boots. Someone was outside. Sarah appeared behind me, her face pale. "They've found us," she whispered. We didn't wait. I grabbed Zion, and we moved to the basement hideout, where every piece of evidence was stored. The door locked with a metallic click. Outside, muffled voices spoke in low, threatening tones. Cameron's voice cut through the night. "She has the files." "I know she does. Find them.
Now."
My stomach twisted. This wasn't a threat. They had the power to execute it. Psychological warfare. The next morning, I found an envelope slipped under the basement door. Inside, a single line written in Cameron's unmistakable handwriting. "Stop now, or you'll regret ever crossing me." The words made my blood run cold, but my resolve hardened. They wanted fear. They wanted hesitation. But hesitation could cost lives, including my son's. Jordan had always warned me that confronting them directly would be inevitable. Now the inevitability had arrived. Gathering allies. We couldn't face Cameron and my uncle alone. I reached out to trusted friends of Amina, people who had quietly supported her during the years she disappeared. Former colleagues, sympathetic police contacts, investigative journalists, they all became part of the plan. Every meeting was clandestine. Every conversation carried the risk of betrayal. But as the network grew, so did my confidence. Each piece of intelligence brought us closer to understanding how Cameron and my uncle operated, their schedules, their weaknesses, and their blind spots. Personal stakes increase. I couldn't allow myself to be consumed by fear for too long. Zion's laughter and innocent questions reminded me of what was at stake. I taught him small routines, how to stay calm, where to hide, and to trust only certain people. His resilience surprised me, and his courage became my anchor in moments when I felt paralyzed by the magnitude of the confrontation ahead. Every night, I studied the evidence with Salman, marking connections, noting financial anomalies, and tracing past transactions. Every document told a story of betrayal, greed, and manipulation. It also illuminated the pathway to bringing Cameron and my uncle to justice, but only if we executed our plan perfectly. Cameron's first strike. The first attack came suddenly. Our safe house was broken into while I was out retrieving supplies. Sarah screamed as she spotted footprints near the evidence boxes. Documents had been rifled through, but the USB drives and DVDs remained untouched. They had been hidden more cleverly than they suspected. A note was left behind. "You're running out of time." Fear surged, but it was now mingled with determination. They thought they could intimidate us. But they didn't understand the depth of preparation, or the careful plotting of every step we had taken since discovering Amina's breadcrumbs. The plan tightens. Jordan joined us for an emergency strategy meeting. She analyzed Cameron's patterns, predicting his next moves. "He will act soon," she warned. "Probably within 48 hours. That's when he feels he has the upper hand." We divided roles. Salman would continue surveillance on Cameron's properties, identifying loopholes. Sarah and I would focus on securing the evidence and preparing for direct confrontation. Every minute was calculated, every misstep potentially catastrophic. Emotional strain. As the confrontation drew nearer, the emotional strain became almost unbearable. I couldn't sleep. Every shadow in the safe house seemed to hide Cameron. Every phone call, every doorbell, sent my pulse racing. But I reminded myself, fear is temporary. Justice is permanent. Zion sensed my tension. One night, he whispered in his sleep, "Mommy, everything's going to be okay, right?" I hugged him tighter than ever. "Yes, baby. I promise it will be okay." Even as I whispered it, I wasn't entirely sure, but I had to believe it. For him, for Amina, for Sterling, foreshadowing the final confrontation. By the end of this build-up, Cameron and my uncle were no longer unseen threats. Every move, every corner, every action had been anticipated. Yet, the risk remained enormous. One wrong step could mean losing everything. But we were ready. We had the evidence, the allies, and the determination. And most importantly, we had the truth on our side. A truth so powerful that no threat could suppress it forever. As I looked at the city skyline that night, my reflection in the glass showed a woman transformed. No longer just a grieving widow, no longer just a scared mother. Now I was a fighter, a strategist, a force to reclaim justice and expose the darkness that had haunted our lives for too long. The final confrontation was coming. And we would be ready. The night had settled like a heavy curtain over the city. Atlanta's streets glimmered wet and deserted under the streetlights, the reflection of rain-drenched asphalt mirroring the storm raging inside me. Every heartbeat echoed like a drum, each step I took toward Cameron and my uncle's mansion carrying the weight of 3 years of pain, loss, and unanswered questions. Sarah walked beside me, her hand tightly gripping mine. Zion had been left with Jordan in a safe house. I had kissed him goodbye, promising I would return with justice. And I would. Tonight, we would confront the people who had destroyed our lives. The approach. The mansion loomed ahead, grand and foreboding, every light inside signaling the presence of the enemies we were about to face. Salman, waiting at a nearby alley, gave a subtle nod. Our plan was simple, but dangerous. Enter quietly, collect irrefutable evidence, and force a confession while recording it. As we moved closer, my stomach churned. The adrenaline surged through me. I kept repeating silently, "This is for Amina. This is for Sterling. For Zion." We slipped through a side gate, careful to avoid the security cameras we had mapped days before. Every creak of the gravel under my boots felt deafening. My heart thudded so loudly, I was sure it would give us away. The confrontation begins. Inside, the house smelled of old wood and expensive perfume. Shadows danced on the walls, cast by the flickering chandelier. Cameron was in the living room, talking quietly with my uncle. I recognized the tension in their posture, the same arrogance that masked fear. Salman whispered through the earpiece, "Wait for my signal." I crept closer, heart pounding, and peeked from behind a column. My uncle was holding documents. Cameron, ever calculating, was typing on a laptop. It felt surreal to see them, so close, so powerful, yet so vulnerable without the knowledge we had. The first strike. Suddenly, the floorboard beneath me creaked. I froze, praying they hadn't heard. Cameron's eyes narrowed, scanning the room instinctively. "Who's there?" he hissed. I stepped out, holding the USB drive with evidence securely in my hand. Sarah followed, filming discreetly with her phone. "I think it's time you listen," I said, my voice steady but icy. Cameron laughed, cold and cruel. "And who's going to make me?" "You." I swallowed hard.
Yes, me.
and the world will see the truth. My uncle rose slowly, his face a mask of disbelief and fury. You have no idea what you're messing with. Exposing the evidence. I held up the USB drive and the DVDs, my fingers trembling slightly. These contain everything. Every illegal transaction. Every plan to harm Amina. Every threat. Every manipulation. And this, I added, handing over the secretly recorded audio files, is your voice, plotting her disappearance and trying to cover up Sterling's fate. Cameron's smile faltered. You don't understand. I understand perfectly, I interrupted. You underestimated me. You thought I was powerless. But I have witnesses, evidence, and the courage you crushed in Amina years ago. And I will not let you harm anyone else. I pressed play on the laptop. The voices filled the room. Unmistakable, damning. The men froze as their own words echoed, sealing their guilt. My uncle's face turned pale. Cameron's jaw tightened, rage and panic flashing in his eyes. The emotional confrontation. I stepped closer, feeling the weight of 3 years of sorrow and injustice in my chest. You destroyed my family. You stole my husband. You tried to break me. And you thought I'd do nothing? Cameron spat out words, venomous and desperate. You don't know what you're getting into. We're untouchable. You're not untouchable, I said, my voice steady. Not anymore. You underestimated love, loyalty, and the truth. I remembered Amina's courage, Sterling's kindness, and Zion's innocence. Each memory fueled my strength. The rage that had been smoldering inside me erupted, but it was controlled, precise. I wasn't just angry. I was ready to reclaim justice. The turn of power. Suddenly, the door burst open. Salman, Jordan, and the allies we had secretly assembled entered. Cameron and my uncle's eyes widened. They realized immediately that this wasn't a trap I had fallen into. It was their own trap. Hands up, Salman commanded. Step away from the evidence. The men hesitated, panic evident now. They tried to retreat, but the walls had closed in. Every exit was monitored. Every lie they had relied on for years was about to be exposed. Confrontation peaks. I approached Cameron. Do you recognize this? I held up the bank statements, the videos, the DVDs. Every move you made is recorded. Every plan you executed is documented. And the world will know. Cameron's voice cracked. This is impossible. I shook my head slowly. Impossible for you, yes. But inevitable for justice. My uncle tried to assert control, but it was too late. The dam of lies, greed, and betrayal had broken. Each piece of evidence, each recording, each photograph corroborated the other. They were cornered, not by violence, but by the undeniable truth. The confession. Under the pressure, Cameron's facade began to crumble. His arrogance gave way to fear. I didn't mean for she shouldn't have. I stepped closer. You killed Amina. You tried to harm Sterling. And you thought you could control the world with your wealth and lies. Admit it. Tears welled in my eyes, a mix of grief and fury. Say it, Cameron. Admit what you've done. He finally gasped, broken. It was my uncle's plan. We wanted the money. Amina, she saw too much. I didn't. My uncle slumped in defeat, realizing their empire of lies had collapsed. It wasn't supposed to go this far. I shook my head. It went as far as truth would allow. And truth wins. Justice secured. We called the authorities, presenting the USB drive, the recordings, and all the documents. The evidence was irrefutable. Cameron and my uncle were arrested, facing charges of conspiracy, fraud, and attempted murder. I held Zion close as we watched the news report. The story of Amina, Sterling, and the crimes of Cameron and my uncle was finally exposed. The world now knew the truth, and the darkness that had haunted us for years was lifted. Emotional resolution. As we returned to our safe house, the weight on my chest began to ease. Zion slept soundly, unaware of the danger we had faced, but I knew he felt the security of justice finally restored. Sarah and Jordan stayed by our side, silent witnesses to the victory that had been hard-earned. I finally allowed myself to cry, not tears of sorrow, but of release. For 3 years, I had endured betrayal, loss, and fear. But tonight, I reclaimed my family, my dignity, and the justice Sterling and Amina deserved, foreshadowing the healing arc. Even though Cameron and my uncle were in custody, I knew life would never be the same. The scars of the past could not be erased, but they could be honored. We had survived the storm, faced the darkness, and emerged stronger. For Zion, I promised a future free from fear. For myself, I promised resilience. And for Amina and Sterling, I promised that their memories would be protected, their sacrifices never forgotten. The final confrontation had ended. Justice had been served. And though the journey was far from over, a new chapter of hope, healing, and courage had begun. The morning sun poured gently through the curtains, painting the room in a warm, golden glow. For the first time in years, I felt the weight on my chest lift, replaced by a cautious but undeniable peace. The air smelled of coffee and fresh rain from the night before. Zion's laughter floated down the hallway, a sound I hadn't allowed myself to cherish fully until now. I paused for a moment, letting the light touch my face, and allowed myself to breathe. The nightmare of Cameron and my uncle, the betrayal, and Sterling's mysterious disappearance were behind us. At least, the darkness had been confronted. Justice had been served. But the memories, the pain, and the scars remained, silent reminders of the trials we had endured. Rebuilding our lives. Zion ran into the room, his small hands clinging to mine as he jumped onto the bed. "Mommy, can we have pancakes?" he asked, eyes sparkling with innocent joy. I laughed softly, hugging him close. "Of course, my love. Pancakes, syrup, and everything you want." It was a simple moment, but for me, it symbolized a new beginning. For years, our lives had been overshadowed by fear, injustice, and uncertainty. Now, we had the freedom to reclaim what had been stolen from us, our sense of home, security, and happiness. Jordan sat nearby, her laptop open but untouched. She watched us quietly, a small smile breaking her usual composure. "You've done well," she said softly. "Sterling would be proud." Her words made my heart ache and swell at the same time. Pride and grief intertwined. Grief for what had been lost, pride for the courage and strength that had carried us through. Reflecting on the journey. As we sat down to breakfast, I couldn't help but think back on the past 3 years. The relentless cruelty of my in-laws, the silence and disappearance of Sterling, and the constant fear of losing everything. It had been unbearable at times. And yet here we were.
Alive. Together.
Victorious, not through brute force, but through perseverance, courage, and truth. The journey had changed me. I was no longer the frightened, naive woman who had been thrown out into the stormy Atlanta night with Zion in my arms. I had grown into someone strong, determined, and capable of facing any challenge. I realized something essential: the pain and loss we endure do not define us. How we respond, how we rise after being knocked down, that is what shapes our destiny. The bonds of family and friendship. Jordan had become more than just Sterling's sister or a secret ally. She was a friend, a protector, and a partner in this journey. Without her courage and strategic mind, we might never have survived Cameron and my uncle's schemes. Sarah and Salman, too, had proven themselves invaluable. In the darkest nights, they had been the quiet pillars holding us upright. I looked at Zion, my heart swelling with love. His laughter, resilience, and innocence had been my guiding light. Through this ordeal, I understood that family is not just blood. It is loyalty, trust, and shared courage. And in that truth, we had found our strength, healing, and self-discovery. In the weeks following the confrontation, we slowly began rebuilding our lives. The legal processes continued, but with the irrefutable evidence, the arrests, and the media exposure, Cameron and my uncle's power had crumbled entirely. I enrolled in a part-time course I had always dreamed of, but had never dared to pursue. The joy of learning, of reclaiming a sense of purpose for myself beyond motherhood and survival, was liberating. Zion began attending a local preschool where he laughed freely, played safely, and thrived without fear. Each day, I watched him grow stronger and more confident, a living testament to the life we had fought to protect. I also took time to reflect inwardly. I journaled my experiences, poured out the pain, and celebrated the victories. Through writing, I realized the transformation within me. The frightened, overwhelmed widow had evolved into a determined, resilient woman, capable of both love and fierce protection. Honoring Sterling and Amina. Every victory, every smile, and every quiet moment of peace was dedicated to Sterling and Amina. Sterling had loved fiercely and loyally, protecting Jordan and me when he could. His memory guided every decision I made, reminding me to fight not out of revenge, but out of justice and love. Jordan, too, had honored her brother's memory in her courage and determination. Her vulnerability and strength taught me the importance of compassion combined with resolve. Together, we celebrated their lives not with sorrow, but by living fully, courageously, and unapologetically. A life restored. Months passed. The safe house became our new home, a sanctuary where we could finally feel secure. We decorated it slowly, adding personal touches, photos, and mementos that symbolized hope and renewal. One rainy evening, reminiscent of the night I had been cast out, I held Zion close, watching the raindrops race down the window pane. He looked up at me, eyes wide. "Mommy, I'm happy now," he said softly. I kissed his forehead, tears slipping down my cheeks. "Yes, baby. We're finally safe, and we will always protect each other." For the first time, I believed it, truly believed it. Lessons learned. Through pain, betrayal, and near defeat, I had learned invaluable lessons. Resilience is born in struggle. Every obstacle we faced strengthened me and clarified my purpose. Truth is unstoppable. Lies and deceit may hold power temporarily, but eventually, truth surfaces. Family extends beyond blood. Courage, loyalty, and love define family, not selfishness or wealth. Hope is essential. Even in the darkest nights, hope gives the courage to fight another day. These lessons became my guiding principles, shaping not just how I lived, but how I raised Zion. A future reclaimed. The story of Sterling, Amina, and the trials of Cameron and my uncle was now known to the world. The justice system had intervened, and the danger had passed. But more importantly, my son and I had reclaimed our lives. Zion and I walked through the park one sunny morning, laughing as he ran ahead, the wind in his hair. I watched him, marveling at his resilience and innocence. This was what we had fought for, a life where fear did not rule, where joy and love could flourish freely. I knew challenges would come again, as they always do. But now, We faced them not with fear, but with strength, courage, and the unwavering belief that justice and truth could guide us. Final reflection. Sitting on a bench, watching the sunlight glint on the leaves, I whispered a quiet prayer to Sterling. Thank you for your love, your guidance, and your faith in us. We've honored your memory and will continue to do so. Jordan, Sarah, and Salman visited often, sharing stories, laughter, and support. We had built a new family from the ashes of the old, one founded on trust, courage, and love. The scars remained, yes, but they were no longer chains. They were reminders of strength, lessons learned, and the life we had fought to reclaim. And as I held Zion's hand, feeling the warmth of the sun and the promise of tomorrow, I realized something profound. Life, though unpredictable and sometimes cruel, always allows room for healing, hope, and a second chance. White heavy checkmark conclusion. The storm had passed. The darkness had been confronted and conquered. And while the pain of the past could never be erased, it had forged a stronger, wiser, and more resilient version of myself. Our lives were finally ours, protected, cherished, and filled with love, hope, and the certainty that no obstacle could ever diminish the strength of a mother's love or the enduring power of truth. If you want, I can now compile the full 30,000-word story structure with all arcs combined and detailed word count allocations for each section, ready for writing or narration. The sunlight poured into the apartment, warm and golden, illuminating the simple yet cozy space that had become our sanctuary. Zion played quietly on the rug, his little hands shaping blocks into towers, his laughter echoing through the room like a melody I hadn't heard in years. I watched him, feeling a swell of pride and love that seemed almost too big to hold. We had survived the unimaginable, the betrayal of family, the loss of Sterling, the years of fear, and the crushing weight of uncertainty. And yet, here we were, alive, together, and stronger than ever. The evidence Jordan had uncovered, combined with the justice system finally stepping in, had given us the peace and safety we had been denied for so long. I let out a long breath, the kind that carries away months, even years, of tension and despair. For a moment, I allowed myself to feel truly free, knowing that Zion and I could finally live without the constant shadow of danger. Reflecting on the journey. But as I sat there, watching the sunlight glint across the floor, I realized that survival was only the beginning. The journey had changed me in ways I could never have predicted. I was no longer the timid, obedient daughter-in-law who had endured cruelty silently. I had learned to fight, to protect, to uncover the truth even when the odds were stacked against me. Jordan had been my unexpected ally, a rebel-turned-strategist, whose love for her brother and her sense of justice had saved us. Together, we had unraveled the web of lies, exposing my in-laws' greed and cruelty. The satisfaction of seeing justice served was real, but the lessons went deeper. Courage, loyalty, and the relentless pursuit of truth mattered more than wealth, power, or appearances. Message to the future. As I held Zion in my arms, I realized that the real victory wasn't just the legal triumph. It was reclaiming our lives, our peace, and our sense of self. I wanted him to grow up knowing that honesty, love, and bravery were more valuable than anything money could buy. I spoke softly to him, almost as a promise to myself. No matter what happens, my baby, we will face it together. We will rise. We will protect what is ours, and we will never let fear control us again. Even as I said this, I knew the world would always have its shadows. Life had taught me that evil often hides in plain sight, that people could betray even those closest to them. But now I felt ready,
Prepared.
stronger than ever before. The calm before the storm. The days passed in a rhythm of quiet joy. We decorated our new home. Zion thrived in school, and I took small steps toward fulfilling my own dreams, learning, growing, reclaiming pieces of myself I had lost in the storm of tragedy. Jordan visited often, and the bond between us had solidified into something unbreakable. She wasn't just my brother-in-law's sister anymore. She was family in the truest sense. And yet, beneath the surface, a tiny unease lingered, a whisper I could not ignore. Sterling's disappearance had taught me that danger often lurked where we least expected it, that the people who appeared harmless or distant might harbor secrets darker than we could imagine. A mysterious discovery. One evening, as I returned from picking up Zion from school, a small envelope awaited me on the doorstep. No return address. The paper was thick and elegant, the handwriting precise and unfamiliar. I paused, my heart racing. Something about it felt deliberate, as if someone had been waiting for the right moment to send this. Inside, I found a single photograph, Sterling, smiling, alive, though clearly in hiding, standing next to a man I did not recognize. Beneath the photograph, a note read simply, "Not everything is as it seems. There are still secrets Sterling couldn't tell you. Be careful. Trust no one." My hands trembled. My mind raced with questions. How was Sterling alive? Why hadn't Jordan found this? Who sent this message? And most importantly, what secrets had Sterling been hiding all along? A flicker of fear. I clutched Zion close, my heart pounding. Could the danger we thought we had escaped be far from over? Was Cameron or my uncle somehow still pulling strings from the shadows? Or was this an entirely new threat? Someone connected to Sterling's mysterious disappearance? Someone we hadn't even imagined? Jordan arrived shortly after, as if sensing my fear. When I showed her the photograph and the note, her eyes widened. She didn't speak at first, but the silent look between us said everything. The journey wasn't over. The game of secrets and lies still had many players, and Sterling's fate was far from fully revealed. The new mission begins. That night, I lay awake, listening to the soft breaths of my sleeping son. A fire had ignited inside me, a mix of hope, determination, and fear. Sterling was out there somewhere. And if he was alive, I had to find him. I had to uncover the remaining truths and protect Zion from whatever threats were yet to come. I whispered a promise to the darkness. I will find you, Sterling. I will uncover everything. And I will protect my son, no matter what it takes. The warmth of the room, the gentle hum of the city outside, and the knowledge of safety felt comforting, yet the unknown loomed large. The cliffhanger. The next morning, as sunlight crept through the blinds, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number appeared on the screen. If you want to see him alive again, meet me at the old pier at midnight. Come alone. No one else must know. I froze, my pulse hammering in my ears. My mind raced with 1,000 questions and only one certainty. Sterling's story wasn't over, and neither was ours. I glanced at Zion, peacefully sleeping, and whispered softly, "Mommy will get him back. I promise." The clock ticked down toward midnight, and the city of Atlanta lay quiet, unaware of the storm about to descend. The final act of this story had yet to begin, and the choices I made in the next few hours would determine everything: our safety, our future, and the fate of the man I loved more than life itself. White heavy checkmark closing message. Life is never simple. Trust must be earned. Danger lurks where least expected, and the past often refuses to stay buried. But even in the darkest hours, hope can spark, courage can rise, and love can guide us through the most treacherous storms. And as I stared at the mysterious message, a single thought rang clear. The fight for Sterling, for truth, and for our family was far from over. The next chapter awaited, and this time, nothing would be left to chance.